Welcome to Life Mastered, the podcast, where high achievers and ambitious souls come for the kind of support that fuels both inner growth and outer strength. This is your space for real tools and deep truths, for meeting life's greatest challenges with grace, resilience, and self-connection, and also expanding into your next level of purpose. I'm Molly Claire, your host, master coach, mentor, and guide, because life mastery is not about checking boxes. It's about how you meet yourself in every moment along the way. Let's get started. Hey, everyone. I am so excited about this conversation with Maria Hendershot today. I'm so excited that you are here listening. I have to tell you, the reason we're here recording this is that, so Maria is a master certified coach. She trained in my holistic master coach training, and I have just witnessed her really, I don't even know how to articulate this. I don't want to say like coming into her own and really becoming so masterful as a coach and in her ability to articulate these coaching concepts that really help us as human beings to transform. And so I was having a group call with my clients, and I had invited alumni, and Maria was there, and my mind was like blown by the insight she was sharing. And I just said, Maria, we got to have you on the podcast. So that's my long explanation of why Maria is here. Maria is master certified. She has many other certifications and trainings she can tell you about here. But really, we're just going to dive into a conversation that really explores why, as human beings and coaches, it's important that we understand the whole picture of ourselves as human beings, our mind, our emotion, our nervous system, how that affects us personally, how that impacts us as a coach. And you're going to hear about her transformation. So that's what we're going to do. Welcome, Maria. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Molly. It's such an honor, truly.
Oh,
I'm so excited.
so fun. And Maria and I, we've known each other for a while now, and we work together in like a couple different capacities. And Maria, you were one of the authors in our best-selling book, She Rises, which is so
Yes.
fun.
So
Yeah.
fun. I love it.
Yeah. And those of you listening, you definitely need to follow Maria because I'm sure a part of you's dying. Like it always feels uncomfortable, right? It's like, oh, everyone's watching me. But her reels are so awesome. And Maria, you just have such good energy and your joy and your fun and your willingness to just be who you are and embrace where you are is beautiful and inspiring. So I think everyone should follow you. I always love, love, love watching your reels. So.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. I love it.
Okay, so tell us, I have some questions I want to ask you, but just tell my listeners, who are you? You know, a little about your background and what you do professionally.
Yeah. So, I mean, my background for the last couple decades has been a homeschool mom. That's where most of my energy and time has been spent.
Hmm.
And then I got introduced to coaching, and it was actually my kids who were like, Mom, you'd be really good at this. And I was like, do you
Uh-huh.
think so? Because I want to be really good at this. And so then I got into coaching, I got certified, and I initially was helping homeschool moms, which I still do. And they're typically like their teens. I'll do some teen classes. And most of my initial training was all cognitive. It all starts in the thoughts, and the power of mindset was so powerful. It truly changed my life, and I've seen it change other people's lives as well. And but what was interesting was that it moved me to a point, and then I got stuck again, and I did not understand what it was. And I think
Hmm.
at this time, this is when I met you. Well, I didn't meet you. Like I knew of you. I had done a couple programs, but I had been introduced to your master training program,
Hmm.
and I didn't know why. I just knew. I was like, I just need to do this. I didn't know what
Hmm.
exactly it
Hmm.
was. I just knew I needed to be part of it, so I jumped in. And that is when I learned all of these missing pieces that I did not know about before.
Hmm.
Even though we talk about, you know, so both you and I were trained initially in the model. So thoughts create feelings and leads down to our results, right?
Hmm.
Um, but even then, I did not even learn like what was happening in the brain for that process to happen, let
Mm-hmm.
alone what was happening in my nervous system. I had
Mm-hmm.
no idea
Mm-hmm.
of those things. And so being
Mm-hmm.
introduced to that, being introduced to the idea of like what's getting stored in our nervous system, why our body
Mm-hmm.
reacts so quickly to things,
Mm-hmm.
patterns that get recycled,
Mm-hmm.
understanding all of that, it opened a whole new space
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
growth, for
Mm-hmm.
being able to help my clients.
Mm-hmm.
It was a missing piece that I needed,
Mm-hmm.
and it has done. I mean, it's just been amazing what it has offered to both
Mm-hmm.
myself and
Mm-hmm.
the women I work with. So right now, I mostly work with like middle-aged women, women
Mm-hmm.
who are in the thick of it, moms who are in the thick of it, trying to juggle all the things and their bodies changing. Maybe they're
All
still, I know
right.
for me, I know it's like my life is still very busy with mom things, but I also am starting to transition to this place where I have a little bit more time to rediscover
Mm-hmm.
myself and to bring up things that I've kind of put to the side because I wanted to spend my energies on and my focus on being a mother. And now I have a little bit more time and I can like
Mm-hmm.
give myself a little bit
Be
more
also
attention.
you separate from mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's
Yeah.
kind of been fun to just reacquaint myself because
Yeah.
younger me, even when I had that time, I was, society, it sometimes we're just socialized to quiet ourselves down. Like I
Mm-hmm.
remember always
Mm-hmm.
kind of feeling like I was trying to figure out the game of like what was acceptable. And now
Mm-hmm.
I'm in this
Mm-hmm.
beautiful place where I can just find out who's me and I
Mm-hmm.
already know that it's acceptable. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a
I
beautiful place to be.
I love this. And so I want to highlight a couple things because so taking a step back, so uh, Maria just shared how thought work, right? A mindset approach. I know a lot of you that follow me, obviously, we're all into like improving ourselves, right? Mindset matters. The way we think matters. Our beliefs impact us. This is all true. And what Maria just shared is something I have shared over and over again and will keep saying is that it can move you so far. But when that is the only thing we are focusing on, um, in our personal development and as coaches, we will get stuck. And not only will we get stuck, but we can start to move, in my experience, backwards in our journey of healing and wholeness and expansion, right? Because what was working for us now begins to work against us, which we can talk more about. But I want to highlight that because those of you listening that have been really focused on, thought work, mindset, belief frame shifts, all those kind of things. If you've experienced this, you're not alone and there's nothing wrong with you. It's normal because there's a lot to understand about human biology and psychology.
Yeah.
Uh, so I want to highlight that. But the other thing I want to say, so Maria, so you trained at the life coach school in the cognitive model, and then you
Mhm.
also trained as a tiny habits coach, which is
Yeah.
talk about that. Is that really pretty action focused?
It is. It is action focused. So, when you're talking about like all these different models and all these different methodologies of coaching
Mm-hmm.
and in self growth, I
Mm-hmm.
just like it's like a toolbox, right? And if
Yeah,
we
yeah.
walk around just with a hammer, it's just gonna be limited what we can do, right? And we might do some
Yes.
damage and so just putting different tools in is just so helpful. And I feel very blessed that different ideas have come into my way and putting them all together has just really clicked. But yeah, tiny habits is really this idea. It was developed by BJ Fogg. He's a Stanford professor on like human behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about really like the action part. Like when you talk about aligned action, this is a
Mm-hmm.
tool that helps with aligned action. And
Mm-hmm.
so it is starting with like the tiniest baby step and
Mm-hmm.
focusing on that.
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes it's like, okay, what are things that you already do every day without thinking about it? And
Mm-hmm.
then what's the new behavior? And does it fit in as like, okay, we have a prompt. We already always get out
Mm-hmm.
of bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
We get up
Mm-hmm.
in the morning. So could we add a practice of gratitude or just a it's going to be a great day?
Mm-hmm.
to that act. And then his big thing is celebration. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that. I feel like I've become the queen of celebrating.
I know
I
it's so awesome. And your celebrating has been so good for our master coach community. It's like one of the like gifts that comes from the Maria energy. It's the best.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's hard for people. A lot of people it feels awkward for them.
Hmm.
And if you don't understand the biology of what ha is happening in your brain, it seems frivolous. Like, oh, I don't have
Yes.
time for that. But it's actually the secret sauce to it. It's like, let's celebrate. And now I just want to celebrate everything. Like
Hmm.
I'm always looking
Hmm.
for ways to celebrate.
Hmm. It's the best. It's the best. I mean, that's something. So in master coach training in our community calls, right? One of the things we do when we do our 90-day planning is we set out, okay, when you hit these milestones, how are you going to celebrate? And it's just like Maria said, it's surprising, even, those of us in this personal development world that we quote unquote should understand this, it can be really hard for people to do that. And so
Yeah.
I love that you're emphasizing that. And again, it's not frivolous. It's actually something that's going to reinforce the behaviors you want, reinforce the growth, the achievement, right? And in a really
Yeah.
powerful way.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
really it's important to remember that through all of this, the becoming is what the point is,
That's
right? Like
right.
the end destination, that's awesome. And like big celebrations when you get to whatever the end destination of the time is, right? But
Hmm.
what's beautiful is the process of becoming, learning, like gaining the confidence, connecting with yourself, realizing that you can do hard things, that you are
Hmm.
building connections, that you are learning about yourself and strategies to overcome different things and building resilience.
Hmm.
And if you're not celebrating those little things along the way, it's
Hmm.
almost like you miss out on a whole part of the journey.
Yeah.
It's kind of the point really. It's like if we
Yeah.
can't have fun while we're doing it, or
Yeah.
appreciation or gratitude or whatever those positive emotions that you're craving, um,
Hmm.
yeah, you're missing out on so much
Hmm.
of the big picture.
Okay, and I want to pause here and highlight this as well because I know, and speaking from myself personally, and I know a lot of my listeners when we've been so focused on achievement, right? And achievement as the way we feel good, achievement as the way we're accepted, as the way we feel safe, as the way we think, okay, I'm okay, right? When we have been when we've thought that way for so long, it can be really hard not only to slow down and pause and celebrate, but to really understand the value of it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
so I want to say this because those of you listening, if you relate to this kind of like, well, it seems frivolous, well, that's nice. But let me tell you that I relate. And this is just like a good time to remind us like how valuable is just our experience of life, right?
yeah,
How we experience every single day, how well we're able to be connected to the people that we love, how much we're able to access a sense of deeper peace and purpose and meaning. And so, like, what a good moment to remember. That's really what we're all wanting. We're trying to go about it different ways. And truly that presence and that appreciation of the moment and that celebrating is it matters. Just
yeah,
in its own right, it matters.
yeah. And it's actually going to bring that progress even quicker
Totally.
because of
Mm-hmm.
just the energy we come to life with.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so as we move through this conversation, I'm excited to dive in with you a little bit more about the holistic approach to coaching because um, so Maria, you start with a cognitive model, you do the tiny habits training, you're obviously a rock star coach, emotionally intelligent, on the ball, doing this for yourself. And then I know that I remember specifically a conversation with you on Zoom where you had said when you found holistic master coach training, you weren't really sure what it was, but you knew you needed to learn from it. You just felt it and felt compelled to. And um, and then I know since then, and you've talked a little bit about this, how understanding our emotional world, right? And I'm kind of adding to what you've said because I think these are all relevant for those of you listening to understand that your emotional world and understanding your emotional needs, it really matters.
Hmm.
Understanding the ways in which you you have some triggers where you have this nervous system is saying hold on, right, stay safe, and we go to a state of fight or flight. Understanding that matters. And understanding how how the mind, the emotions, and the nervous system and the patterns that we develop, understanding how all of them fit together is how we create growth and progress. And this is the part, on top of that, within all of that, what we are doing as we acknowledge all of those things is we are really truly honoring, respecting, and appreciating ourselves as a human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk a little about that because we talked about
Yeah.
that before we came on camera, right? A little
Yeah.
about just that ultimate acceptance of self. And I think that's one of
Hmm.
the most beautiful parts about all of it. So I know this, I didn't really ask you a specific question. I just said
Yeah.
all these words and then I just said, say something, but
Well,
I
I
would
have
love to hear
something.
your thoughts.
I have a couple ideas. One just about the different parts of it, of just whole person wellness. Because I've also, besides like nervous system, like tapping and cognitive and emotion work, I also have like health coach um, certifications too,
Mm-hmm.
because so a friend of mine, she told me, and I've been using this myself for a while now too, is that the best way to help your body is to help your mind, and the best way to help your mind is to help your body. And those are just
Yes.
two parts of it, right? But it's really true. It's kind of like um, I don't know. I like to work in analogies, and I have two analogies for this. One is like when you're tightening a tire, and you can't just do all one, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
do one and then one and then one and then one. You know, you're
Mm-hmm.
kind of going to the different parts. Another analogy is like a 3D puzzle where you it kind of just all starts shifting until it clicks,
Mm-hmm.
but you kind of have
Mm-hmm.
to mold all parts. And that's one thing that this has given me is even just awareness that there's these different parts helps me know where the entry point might be for either me or my client. And that can
Mm-hmm.
be really, while having it in the background, that there may be other things going on too. And that just
Mm-hmm.
opens space for grace, and grace opens
Yes.
up space for growth.
Mm.
Because if we're constantly beating ourselves down, it's just hard to move out of that spot, right?
Yeah.
But when it
Yeah.
just when we give us some space, ourselves some space and that grace of being like, okay, that makes sense. It may still not be a quick transformation, but at least we can
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, I understand that why this is happening, maybe why I'm stuck or why I'm feeling not great,
Mm-hmm.
and we can start seeing some ideas of how to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the other hand, the second thing you talked about was this importance of connection with self. And I mean, I truly think that humans crave connection and fulfillment, purpose, like doing something that matters in the world, leaving an impact, and a sense of joy and fulfillment and wholeness, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I just really truly think that connection with self is at the top of those things because you,
100%.
yeah, you can't really connect with other people with a higher purpose, with nature, if you are really disconnected with yourself. It seems to be like that
Mm-hmm.
seems to be the thermostat of deciding how much connection you can get with the world is how connected you can be with yourself. And truly, we are kind of socialized to disconnect from ourselves a lot. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so learning how to reconnect is just such a key foundational part
Mm-hmm.
of all of those other things that really create a fulfilling life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to speak to actually this holistic approach and and the relationship between the self connection. Because, when I talk about like the work that I do and what I teach here, it's like, okay, the four fundamentals. And the other thing is the self connection, but they're not, they're interconnected. They're one and
Yeah.
the same because, and so I want to actually take a step back and speak to your analogy about like just tightening, one screw on the, tire or whatever. And I think, and the idea to have different entry points, because that's the thing is like, we can be trained to understand more about the mind. We can be trained to understand more about the nervous system habits, right? And I think they're all valuable. And this is one of the things I love about the holistic master coach training program is we're looking at all of them and understanding how they fit together and getting a better idea of when and how to have one certain approach with any one given client, right? Because I could meet with Maria, I could be coaching you today, and we might, go in at a cognitive level, and then we may need to switch completely to the emotion space, right? And another day it could be totally different. And so there's so much value in especially those of you that are coaches, educate yourself and keep educating yourself over and over again, right? Learn
Yeah.
the different tools and understand how they all fit together. And so there's that piece. And then when we talk about this self connection, if we think about this, if we are trying to fix our life or our emotions with our thoughts or mindset, which you and I have both tried to do at some point
Hmm.
in our life,
Yep.
if I'm trying to do that, I am usually minimizing or dismissing some of my emotional needs. There's a part of me I'm trying to push out of the way, which is not really full self acceptance, right?
Yeah.
And then if I'm having, maybe I'm in a bit of a fight or flight stress state, right? And maybe I'm a little emotionally activated, not crazy about my behaviors, and then I start criticizing or judging myself for that. Well, first of all, that's not going to help me get into a more calm, grounded, connected state. But also, I'm criticizing and rejecting a part of me. And so I think part of the magic in this holistic approach, where we're learning the mindset, the emotional world, the nervous system, the habits, is not only are we learning these different entry points, but we're saying all of these parts of us matter. And wherever we are needing time and attention as a human being, that's okay. And when we can make that space and that grace for us to be human and have all of these parts of us, I just feel like it just lays down some of these judgmental, harsh, critical views that we can have of ourselves that disconnect us. And when we can lay those down, it is knowing of self, accepting of self, and within that deeper sense of peace, like Maria, like you said, this is when and how we can really be present for everyone else in our lives, right? Our
Yeah.
relationships, our purpose. It's just, it's everything.
Yeah. And I also think because I think humans also we talk about getting caught in this like needing to be productive and achievement and stuff. And I because I've wrestled a lot with this because I've always seen myself as a go-getter and I'm like, well, where does that fit in with all of this other stuff? And it's just taken me a little while to understand how it fits together because I'm like, well, should I not try to do that? But deep down, I
Right, right.
believe that that is part of human growth too. Like we want to see what we're capable of, right? Like I feel like that is part of being human. What I another analogy is like I've seen my children are all parts of sports, and I've seen coaches that coach from a place of we've just got to get the win. We've just got to get the outcome. And it
Hmm.
can kill the love of the sport. It can break spirits so quickly, break confidence
Hmm.
so quickly. And then
Hmm.
I see coaches that come from a place of like they know how to push hard, but it's from a place of like, I know what you're capable of and we're going to get you there.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and there's just this different energy that comes from the different approaches, and one is obviously so much more effective than the other. One is only going to get you so far, and then it's like, I don't even want to do this. This is not fun,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I've
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of learned to transfer that into my own life of there has to be room for understanding where I am as a human,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I have to
Mm-hmm.
be able to be okay where I'm at
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to be okay to make the next steps forward. If I'm trying to push myself somewhere that I'm not, like you have to have 2 points to get to a destination where you are and where you're going, right? But if
Mm-hmm.
you can't
Mm-hmm.
really be safe in the place where you truly are,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to get going to where you want to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have so many things I want to talk about. I feel like we could have like a 5 hour conversation, but I will keep us focused here. Um, Something I would love for you to share with my listeners is um, what is it like for you now? So you've been coaching for a while now, and you
Mhm.
have used different methodologies and tools, and I know you bring them together now. What would you say is the difference between where you were having sort of one set of tools, one approach, versus how you're able to support your clients now?
Yeah, I think it so much has to do with knowing the point of entry and
Mm.
recognizing that,
Mm-hmm.
being able, and also knowing the questions to ask to understand where does this client want to go and what are
Mm-hmm.
her needs and how can I help her understand her needs and to connect with herself, because that is a huge goal for myself as or for me in my
Mm-hmm.
coaching as well, so that these clients have the gift of self connection,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
Mm-hmm.
huge. That's a huge part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so would you say like in terms of your client's experience, for example, not that we can exactly, right? You're not in their head or anything like that, but a client working with you before when you had sort of a one approach working with thoughts versus what their experience is like now.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, just being able to incorporate daily, like when I talk about tiny habits, one of the first things that I work with clients is getting some kind of daily habit to
Mm-hmm.
reset,
Mm-hmm.
to calm
Mm-hmm.
their nervous system, to find that safety so that their
Mm-hmm.
mind clears for whatever's next, whether it is working with thoughts, whether it is
Mm-hmm.
working with emotions, whether it is coming up with a strategy on how to move forward. Just that daily habit of
Mm-hmm.
bringing in that pause in your life to breathe,
Mm-hmm.
to reconnect, and just to reset. That's
Mm-hmm.
been really a really big transformation for my
Mm-hmm.
clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think part of it too, as you were talking about that, is it's educating them that it is necessary and important, right?
Yeah.
To be
Oh yeah.
grounded and to regulate ourselves. Because I think the default, or, like what I know what I was taught most of my life, right, is that we should just be able to handle things better. And if I'm stressed out, well, that's a personality flaw or it's a behavior flaw or whatever it is, right? When the reality is we all have a nervous system and we are
Hmm.
all having different states of our nervous system. And the fact is that we all have emotional needs. And so I
Yeah.
think part of the magic in just understanding when I'm working with a client, and I'm guessing you feel this way as well, but would love to hear from you other thoughts on this. But it's like when I'm working with a client and I can teach them and help them understand more about their own needs and how to support themselves in being regulated and clear. Not only is it offering them a tool, but it's also normalizing the challenges that we all have rather than seeing them as a character flaw,
Yeah.
right? Or a
Yeah.
problem that needs to be fixed. I mean,
Yeah,
not that we want to
absolutely.
continue, unhealthy behaviors, right? But it's not because there's something wrong with us. It's because our brain and body are working exactly where the way they're designed to.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
when you're talking, I was thinking about how I was thinking about our friend Leah, who talks about like we don't just have a nervous system, we are a nervous system. Like our
Mm-hmm.
everything that we're taking in all the time is having that response, and our body is having a response to that. And probably
Mm-hmm.
one of the most gracious, forgiving phrases that I've learned is like, oh, that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
why. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that makes sense why my body does it. Not that I don't want to work to like train my body. I don't know if that's the best way to say it, to have a different response. Um, as far as like, you can train your body to have more safety. So you have a little bit more of that prefrontal
Mm-hmm.
cortex online.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to say. I don't know if I worded that well. Um, but to just to be like, oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
now we can move on. We don't have to be
Yeah.
here like constantly berating ourselves because of these things that we think are character flaws. And really, it's just our bodies doing what they need to do to take care of us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Okay, in just a minute, as we're finishing up in just a minute, I want you to share any last like thoughts, words of wisdom, etc., and then of course tell people where they can find you. But for whatever reason, as Maria was talking, I was just thinking about like a bit of a side conversation that Maria and I had recently, and thinking about how, you know, those of you listening right now, it can be easy to listen to a conversation like this where, we're talking about having mastered some of these skills and helping our clients. And it can be easy to assume that this means that maybe I'm giving ourselves more credit than we should have in terms of what people are thinking, right? But like, oh, they have it all figured out. It's almost like once we understand the nervous system, then we're never going to have like, quote unquote, bad, stress related behaviors again. Or once we understand our thoughts or our emotional world, then we've made it, right? Like we've reached this
Yeah.
point of perfection. And what I just want to say is, and when I was referencing a conversation, with Maria and I was sharing with her like a couple weeks ago, just like, I've been like life has been really sending some challenges my way. And when that happens for me, and when it happens for everyone, it is going to challenge us emotionally. It is
Hmm.
going to challenge us oftentimes with a nervous system that's a bit more on alert. These things are going to happen. They are real. And I think that that is the beauty of this work is it's not about understanding this so we can finally be above or beyond the challenges, but more that we can face what's happening while staying present with ourselves.
Hmm.
We can face what's happening and lean into our tools and understand that also leaning on other people and having that ability to be vulnerable and stay in connection is kind of how we get through it, right? And it doesn't look
Yeah.
pretty a lot of the time, and none of it's
Yeah.
perfect, but I can just say I'm so glad that I have these tools that we work with
Yeah.
because life still keeps
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Life still keeps happening. Life is still going to throw us some challenges, and we're still going to respond to them as humans.
That's right.
And yeah, and I guess I'd like to clarify something that like what I was just talking about, like for sure being able to train me myself to like maybe have a different response is not in any way like, oh, I've got this all figured out.
Right.
What it has allowed me to do is I'm just nicer to myself. When I have these
Yeah.
responses, I'm nicer to myself. Maybe I have built a little bit more resilience. And I mean, there's a spectrum, and right. And I just feel like maybe I'm a couple steps, well, I don't even know. That's not even the right way to say it. But like, because there is no arriving. Like you just are you. But I do feel like these tools have allowed me, like when I've been knocked down, one, I have more compassion with myself. And because of that, two, I feel like I've built resilience where I can get back up quicker because I don't spiral as fast. Not that I don't ever spiral. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying that compassion allows me more space
Mhm.
to be like, I understand what's happening. and maybe this sucks, or like the
Exactly.
situation, and maybe I don't always handle things the way I would like to. I have more understanding why maybe I have some knee-jerk reactions, but it keeps me from spiraling into a really dark place and staying there for a long time.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
do feel like these tools have helped me on my journey to have a little bit more resilience. So those
Hmm.
hard times just are met with more
Hmm.
compassion
Hmm.
and grace,
Hmm.
really.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, I'd like to think that in if I keep practicing this, maybe I'll even get better at it. But I don't ever actually think I'm going to arrive at this place where I'm always like perfectly responding to things.
Hmm.
I'm going to be a human as long as I'm on this earth.
I know. Me too. Me and you both. But I think this is it. And I'm so glad you said this because it's true. Kindness to self, compassion with self, gentleness with self builds resilience. I think we can think about resilience as grit, and there is, something to that. But when we can be kind and compassionate with ourselves, gentle with ourselves, it allows us to stay with it, to stay with whatever's happening. And it also allows greater growth. It allows more resilience and it allows greater growth. Because this is like, right, this is Master Coach Training Day One, where we talk about the degree to which we're able to change. And I'll have the quote with proper credit in the show notes here, right? But the degree to which we're able to change and grow is directly in proportion to our ability to look at ourselves without running away. And if we're
Mhm,
looking at ourselves with criticism, that's not a good experience, and we're not going to be as willing to look as often. But when we
mhm.
can look at what's going on for ourselves with compassion, it is the ultimate key to growth, not just for achievement, but growth in terms of that true sense of greater peace and purpose. I think
Yeah,
that we all crave.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, this has been such a great conversation. Anything else you want to share with my audience about anything? And then, of course, tell them where they can find you as well.
Well, one last thing that I was thinking as you were talking about is just this need for like rest. You talked about grit, and sometimes we think it's just pushing through, but all of nature, the cycles of nature show us that much growth happens in those points of rest. And to give
Yes.
ourselves pause for that too, that was just one little thing I
Yes.
thought of. But yes, thank
Yes.
you. I've
Yeah.
enjoyed this so much. I appreciate it. It was an honor. You can find me at joyfulreinvention.com or Maria Hendershot Coaching on Instagram. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Amazing. And those of you that have She Rises, or if you don't yet, you should get the book and read Maria's chapter. Maria, tell them what your chapter title is and the focus of it.
It is Joyful Reinvention, and it is all about finding joy in the moments and having
Hmm.
this process of becoming, of
Hmm.
just being a joyful process. That joy can be
Hmm.
found not just in the big moments, but in the sad moments too. It can sit next to it.
Mm.
It's in the pauses of life where you just stop to take in that life is full of all sorts of things and what a blessing it is to be getting to experience it. So
Hmm.
that is there. And oh, I just started my podcast this year. So you can also find me at I've Got You Mama.
Okay, we're going to have the link to that in the show
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah.
So make sure to tune in there as well. All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much, Molly. This is awesome.
Yeah, so great. Thank you everyone for being here. And, I hope as you walk away from this conversation, you'll really take in how important it is to be kind and gentle with yourself, how important it is to see all of you and accept all of you, and that in that seeing and accepting of all parts of you, that is where greater wholeness, greater peace, and greater growth comes from. So, and those of you interested in learning about this methodology, of course, check out mollyclaire.com and click on Master Coach Training and Certification. We are filling for a fall group. I'm going to be working with a small group of coaches to mentor you. So, if this speaks to you, check it out. All right. Thanks, everyone. And I'll talk with you next week. Thanks for being here and for investing this time in you. Keep showing up. Keep meeting yourself with compassion. That's truly what life mastery is all about. If you loved this episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And I would be honored if you would take the time to leave me a review. This ensures that this important work will get in the hands of more people. And if you're ready to take this work deeper, join me at mollyclaire.com where you can find all of the ways we can work together. I'll talk with you next week.